Hello, welcome. My name is Chris Jansen. You can check out my work at endevil.life. I'm here with three other awesome content creators tonight, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion on subjects of truth, natural law. We're going to ask some good questions, and yeah, I think it really helps to put a few minds together, and that allows for more better view of the whole big picture when we hear things from multiple perspectives. So I'm going to kind of start things off with a little quote. One of my favorite people or books to quote from is "The End of All Evil" by Jermey Locke, and this quote says, "To understand freedom is to understand the value of a person. Everything that evil wants is to disguise and destroy your value." And when I started myself trying to make a presentation about natural law, um, I really tried to think of where to start. And what I came up with is the value of human life. And I think that's something we should all be able to agree on. And so I think understanding our value, even though that sounds like a simple thing, isn't so simple in today's world. And in fact, most people have no concept of their value. And that's obvious in the way we act and become subservient and obedient to authority. So, my question to you three is about value and how to help others to understand their value and what that value is. So, you got any thoughts on that, Lawrence?
Yeah. Um, so
Oh,
first,
I'm sorry. Introduce yourself first because I introduced myself.
oh yeah,
This is
yeah, Lawrence Watson. My website's theprincipleofcare.com. I talk about a wide variety of different topics. I mean, anything you can really think of. Um, and my process of speaking and putting material out is very spontaneous. That's all I really want to say about that. If you want to check out my work, again, it's theprincipleofcare.com. So the question was, how do we help people to understand their value or understand that human life is human, the life of human beings' inherent value, essentially.
you got
Correct.
it.
Um, well, the first thing I come to personally is understanding what we are. You know, understanding that we're not these bodies. Understanding that, I mean, yes, we are these bodies. That's one aspect, but we're not just the bodies. Um, it's helping people to appreciate and understand what they are, their infinite nature. I know for me, when I first opened my eyes and that spark or that awakening or that flash took place within my consciousness, um, which was my consciousness, I realized my connection to all things, and that's really what set me off. That's really what set me in a good way. I mean, like that's what set me off on the path to discover truth, to discover more. I was hungry for knowledge. I was hungry for freedom and understanding what the hell's going on in reality within myself, within the world, and I just had this knowing that I needed to like go through this process of like deprogramming my mind, deprogramming all this junk that's been instilled and engraved within my mind, and then start helping other people to realize their infinite value. I say infinite value, but value is, I think, infinite by nature if we're talking about like human life, you know. So um it's and there's multiple different ways that we can do this to help other people understand not only the value of their own lives but the value of life in general, because human life, animal life, plant life, earth life, I mean universal life, it's all the same thing. It's just life, which is what we all are, right? And we're just individuated nodes of consciousness expressing ourselves in different ways and healing certain trauma and healing certain, you know, things that we kind of subscribed for when we incarnated into these bodies. What I feel, that's what I feel to be true. But to help people understand their value, it just depends on where these people are at. You know, before the show, we were talking about how individuals, briefly, I think you were touching on how individuals are on their own they're in their own process. They're in their own place. I read a book called Illusions by Richard Bach recently, and the Messiah in this book talks about how everyone's living in their own world. You know how we say, "Oh, we all live in this world." No, no, the hell we don't. We all live in our own worlds, our own conceptual frameworks, our own conditioning. We're all living in our own world, having our own individuated experience. It's very rare, even the most enlightened beings that you can conceive of probably didn't live in the true world, you know, because they were in a body. I mean, perhaps they did. I don't know because I live in my own world. You know, as much as I want to feel like I'm in alignment with truth and I'm, you know, connected to that infinite source of consciousness full on. No, I still got things going on. I still got, you know, lenses and things that I have to dissolve and look at and take care of. And this all ties into understanding your value, understanding your inherent, you want to use the word worth, right? Is going through all these processes and peeling back all these layers to see what you are beyond the flesh, you know, to see the inherent preciousness of all life. So I know I kind of just rambled right there. This is kind of just spontaneously coming out of me, but
Yeah, it's good, man. That's
yeah.
that's what we're here to do is ramble a little bit and see what flows out of each
Excellent.
other's minds.
Excellent.
So I'd like to hear from Dom. Dom, give us a little, tell us a little bit about your website, introduce yourself, and then what do we hear? I'd like to hear what you got to say about the value of human life.
Sure. Dom Tremblay. I'm from province of Quebec, Canada. My website is vérité-ou-conséquences.com, where I spread crucial information about truth, freedom, morality, and all kinds of good stuff, primarily to a French audience. But I really enjoy networking with great individual and practice my skills, my English skills with you guys. Um, so on the topic, what comes to my mind when it's the concept of oneness, you know, uh, that we are all one. So when you realize that fully and you fully grasp that concept that, you know, the first hermetic principle that all is mind and we are all creation in the mind of the all, then you know you realize that nobody has more value than anybody else. Even with the animal kingdom, you know, all sentient being, even plants to some extent, you know. So we're all a creation. You are a creation. I am a creation in the mind of the all. So I don't have more value than anybody else, but at the same time, I have value because I am part of, you know, this mental creation. So that's really how I see it, and that first hermetic principle really helped me, you know, to understand. And it's very hard to fully grasp it, and it takes maybe months, years of really contemplating that concept before you fully understand and you fully um, can apply it to your life and, you know, in a real life situation. Like same thing. So again, value. We are all have the same value. We cannot put, you know, there's no monetary value we can put on something, but we can for sure say that we're all equal. We don't have more rights than, you know, anybody else. So same thing. Anybody else has more rights than you. Even again in the animal kingdom, technically they don't have more rights, or you don't have more rights than them. Don't have rights to kill them technically. I'm a meat eater. I'm not perfect, but I really tend to, and I'm all for veganism, and I'm probably, you know, transition soon to a vegan diet. Not to get off topic, but that's pretty much my. I think oneness is the main concept that, you know, underlies our human value.
Right on. Thanks, Dom. I like that. That's what I love so much about the tree of life, you know, the idea of togetherness and oneness. recognizing that is a extremely valuable thing to realize. We're part of this amazing web of life.
Mm.
So what do you got to say on this, Will? Why don't you give us a little intro?
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Will Keller, and my website is willtelltruth.com and naturalfreedomleague.com. Will Tell Truth's going to be a presentation style, stepwise progression of videos. So that's going to be coming out pretty soon. And Natural Freedom League is a video podcast where we dive into truth, morality, natural law, anarchy. So there's some good episodes on there. But yeah, to the question, just adding to what these fine gentlemen just said, those are all great points. It's all about your self-worth. We're here to learn and experience. So therefore, we need to remember. I call it the 3 R's: respect, to look again at oneself, right? Because you can't give what you don't have. So you got to have respect for yourself, and that's a process of learning and really digging deep in the psychology of yourself. And then remembrance. Remembrance is to bring back together. So this kind of goes with the question: is remembering who we are on the greater level and the individual monad. So we are part of the one mind, the all, like the oneness Dom was talking about. But we're also an individual monad, individual fractal of consciousness that is having an experience to grow and learn, evolve in consciousness. And then the last one is responsibility. And responsibility is your response and ability to react to natural law parameters, meaning to be a moral person. And the 3 R's are crucial, and that leads to many other steps. But when you focus on those 3, then you're really digging deep into your self-worth and your value as a person, and your care for nature and the world as well. And ultimately, society has a really big emphasis on self-loathing and the separation of us humans and animals. And having your value and your self-worth can really bring that back together. So respect, remembrance, and responsibility.
Great words. Yes. Thanks, Will.
Sure.
Well put, as always. I guess what I would add is what occurs to me is, and it's a good, important point to point out that nature, when I like to use some nature sometimes as an example or metaphor for concepts, but that's not what, of course, important, not what natural law means. Natural law has to do with human behavior and the consequences of human behavior. But I think I kind of see nature as a bit of a mirror or like a living Bible that we can use to understand concepts and dynamics. And if you think about an animal will fight to the death for its survival with no compunction. An animal will chew off its own foot to escape a trap without thinking twice about it. It'll just do it. And part of the problem with modern humans is we've sort of forgotten that deep seated desire to live, and the grateful, that we haven't been destroyed, because we live in these environments where things are somewhat sterile, and we don't see death around us regularly. And so I think it's important to remember that every moment we're alive is a fantastic, amazing moment. And we do, like Lauren said, have limitless potential. We can, there's never been a record that hasn't been broken. So I just think it's an important concept for people to realize that that's part of the job that's been done on the human race, is lowering our understanding of just how valuable and just how amazing it is that we can survive for another moment. And we, as we appreciate that, that gives us fuel and will to try harder. And like Will said, put the things together in our body, our spirit, our soul, our body, our mind. And then, like Dom said, connect to the greater environment around us, and we can become much more powerful as individuals and as a group of humans. So goes my theory. Anyway, so yeah, let's move on. I think Dom, you got a good question you want to throw for the rest of us, and we'll see. I'll give our replies.
Yeah, I've been, meditating a few minutes before we started the show on the word patriot. It's really more a bit more down to earth than what your question, but and I really want to hear because we're all anarchists, and I really because we have been seeing this word a lot. He's a true patriot, a true patriot. Patriot comes from the Greek. Uh, Patrios means of one's father, and is just a patriot. Technically, is someone who loves his country and is willing to defend it uh, by all means or by means. But I really want to hear your perspective, or what does this word brings or evoke to you?
Yeah. So when I hear the word, when I hear the word patriot, honestly, I mean, to be completely honest, I don't even know how to feel about it. So I'm just gonna kind of ramble again, like I did before about this topic. Um, I I feel kind of unsettled by the term because just the fact of you saying I'm a patriot, so therefore I'm going to defend my country by all means. My country, you're identifying with a piece of land. I don't like that. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's very detrimental to your spiritual health, psychological. I mean everything. So when it comes to in if you're speaking about being a patriot, like in a true, in a real way, um, then that would mean that would now we're stepping into anarchism. Now we're stepping into an individual who understands their understands natural law, understands their inherent freedom that they are, understands that this country, that country, this piece of land, that piece of land, the dividers, the walls, the invisible lines that we draw are just that. They're invisible. They're not real. They're illusions. They've been constructed to divide us. So I I feel like patriotism at its best is borderline anarchism, and what we're seeing today is certainly the inversion of I guess anarchism, the inversion of what a true patriot would look like, right? Because these so-called patriots are statists. They're hardcore statists. They think that a puppet's going to save the world. They put all their power into a couple puppets, or like faces, facades, like Trump or whatever, whoever it is. So we call them patriots, and we're abusing the hell out of the term patriot because I'm sure there was I'm not very good, and I'm not a history buff at all, but I'm sure there was a point in time where there were a close resemblance to what I feel a true patriot would be, which is a motherfucker that's going to defend their life and liberty and freedom, but by all means. Like you were talking about earlier, Chris, animals, they don't ask questions. If you hit a dog, it's going to fucking bite you. Immediately, it's going to bite you. It's not going to ask, oh, why'd you? Oh, it's Johnny. Oh, I'm not going to bite Johnny because Johnny's this person. But Susan, I'm just going to bite her immediately when Susan punches me. No, if you fuck with a lion's babies, it's going to destroy you immediately. I mean, it's just how it works. It's instant burn, in nature. Instant, you get instant consequences for your actions out in nature. And in the human realm, mainstream society has done such a profound number on our minds to where they are doing their, and I said this in my last video I uploaded on YouTube, they're doing their best to shield us away from our karma. They're doing their best to numb us away and numb us out from feeling our suffering. So therefore, what comes with that is we're not responsible for ourselves. We're not responsible for our suffering. We victimize ourselves. We're in this process of self-loathing, like Will said earlier. I'm gonna tie this back into patriotism, but like these modern day patriots, they or you call them fake ass patriots, they're covering all these bases when it comes to self-loathing, when it comes to believers in government, believers in slavery, believers in victimhood. I'm still wounded from the womb. I'm still wounded from childhood. And so, to answer your question bluntly, I think patriotism is an absolute trap, and it's a toxic worldview. It's a toxic identification to have, because just by identifying as a patriot, you are identifying as separate from other beings. So, and that kind of goes and ties into my experience in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, so I was in that system for 4 years, and I got to be around these gung-ho patriots for a long time, and all they are hurt children walking around, and now they got excuse to hurt one another, excuse to exercise power over one another, because they've been under the iron fist of their parents or society in general for so long. So now, now I get to boss other people around. Now I get to I get to force my will upon others. So patriotism is an illusion to me, and it's not a good thing.
Thanks.
And that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, man. I concur for sure. I mean, at one point, the term patriot, during the American Revolution, was a good term because there's a just cause there. But I think in the overall, the definition, yes, it promotes, it's a label for people to identify with, especially nowadays, right? I mean, when you hear patriot, people use that term almost to describe someone that is on the right, or a Trumper, and those are hardcore patriots. But are they really? Where are their principles and their morals at? They're in the gutter, just like the other side is, both sides. So and it's just a term. How I look at it, it's a term that you would use in sports, just represents your team, keep you in that tribalistic, that lower level of consciousness, that animalistic level where it's just, it's dog eat dog, and it's us versus them type of mentality. So yeah, I agree with Lawrence. It's an unhealthy, it's the same as identifying as a Republican or a liberal. Liberal, that term, what it actually means is book and free, to be free, liberty. So, but that word has been perverted now. So I think it's good to get down to the roots and the actual definitions of terms. But as far as patriot, yeah, no, I don't think it's a healthy term to be labeled as. Any kind of labeling, it isn't really good unless you're a human, or you label with morality or nature, because that's what we are. So it's good to, set your sights on something that's more tangible and more based in principles. So,
And I would say you have to be able to see through that label as well. Like if I were to identify as like a spiritual anarchist, or whatever, individual who lives in alignment with truth, right? Then I know that I'm not that conceptually, or I'm not the word truth. I'm not the word anarchist. I'm not the label. I understand the illusory nature of that label. So using the identification, almost like using the ego as a tool as a vessel to channel consciousness, or to help other people or help other yous, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
And real quick too, that's a great point, right? So labels aren't good. What actually should label us is our actions, right? I'm good with my hands and I can build stuff, so that is a part of my skill set. I could be known for that. That would be a correct label in my point of view. But the false axiom labels of, it's just something, it's ego identification to identify with. Yeah, not good. Not cool with it.
And we do need, what occurs to me with patriotism is, wherever we live as people, we do need those people who have bravery, who want to defend, that are warriors. There are going to be situations in any society. I know we all imagine what it would be like to have true anarchy. It would be, we try to imagine a much more peaceful world, actually, where people have choices. But getting from where we're at to there, how could that happen without trouble? There's things are set up in such a way that it's sort of a ticking time bomb. And what occurs to me with the reason the word patriot is so screwed up is the strings that are attached. um, People think it's so brave, and these warriors we have, that someone that was a veteran or someone that fought in a war or serves on a military or police, and in so many of the public's minds, they revere these titles, these positions with the stars and the special costumes as somehow, on a higher spiritual level. But we have to remember that there's a string, and it comes back to money. And everybody's that's doing these jobs is expecting to get paid. By taking this risk and fighting with the gun, they're expecting to get money for it, and that money ties them back into this system that devalues the human being as being a number, a social security number, a label, right? Like you guys are talking about, a label. So we've labeled ourselves into these little jobs and trying to make it seem special. But really, if you're not doing something because you care from your heart, you're doing it for money. And you can try to make it sound good and pretend like you're a hero, but doing something without strings attached is heroic. Doing something from the heart is putting yourself at risk without any expectation of getting anything back for it. And so to me, true patriotism would be fighting for yourself, the value of your own self, or people in your community that you want to protect, your family, your kids, your loved ones, people you've grown up with in your neighborhoods. And if you were to choose to lay down your life possibly, or take great risk to harm, to protect those people, that would be true patriotism. And we should all have a right to live where we've been born. That seems as natural as anything to me, that, you know, just being born by right, that's natural. That's where you were born. You should be able to live there, and you should be able to protect that area. And to me, that is what patriotism should mean. And we need to work back towards thinking of it that way. In modern day, if you try to do that, you're a gang, right? Because you're not wearing the right costume with the right symbolism on it, that puts you in this other bigger gang of the United States or the military or the Navy or whatever it is. So that's my answer, Dom.
All good points. Thank you, gentlemen.
For sure.
Who else has a question?
Yeah, I'll go with my question. I had a couple that I was throwing around, but I'm gonna do so. Techniques and advice for brain balance, balancing yourself, the energies. There's so much polarization going on. It can be, it can grab you and kind of switch up your rhythm. So it's good to be centered and balanced. So what's some advice or techniques you guys would offer the viewers to stay centered and grounded and keep that good left and right brain balance?
Good,
Well,
good question.
I can start. Well, first thing first is to identify what kind of imbalance are you at right now, and that's part of the shadow work. That's part of the the self, the work on yourself that you should do, and the assessment of where you're at, and what you exactly, like Chris said, your actions. It's all about where your actions, where you are with your actions, and basically, uh, like myself, I realized that I was a lot on the right brain imbalance, um, and left brain imbalance. I'm sorry, because I was a lot of, by my was my natural. We always have a natural side that we go to, and we tend to, you know go to the strongest side of the brain, because that's where we're comfortable. And I realized that I wasn't much creative, and that's where, all this work also helped me by, being more creative and using my imagination more, and my feelings, to my emotions, so that I was able to bring, because you have to work that balance every day, right? It's not okay, now I'm balanced and that's it for the rest of my life. It's a daily work that you have to do. But first, I think the first thing first is to assess where you are at, and then you can identify what you have to work within yourself. It's part of the shot, again, I said, part of the shadow work, to bring that balance in your brain, so that you have uh, yeah a more balanced uh, um, behavior, to a more balanced way of thinking, because we were talking about the order followers who are really like left brain imbalanced so much that some of them are even psychopathic, same thing, those who are too much on the emotional side can lead to, at a certain degree, to mental disease, or so. And at some point, it's really hard to bring that balance back, because when it's the same thing with all extremes, right? So your goal also is to never uh, you let your brain or your emotions or your thoughts go too much on one side, and always try to balance it with the opposite polarity. So again,
Counterbalance.
counterbalance, right? So it's the principle of polarity. uh it's the same thing at different degrees. It's one brain, right? We have two sides, but it's one brain. So to have it functioning at this full potential, I guess, that's the to think clearly, and to output it into the rightful actions. That's where you have to start.
That's a great response, Dom. Um,
Beautiful.
for me, the first thing that comes to mind for me, and I'm going solely off personal experience, is um, going out into nature, going out into the flora, the earth, like experiencing the earth, experiencing the trees and the birds and the squirrels and just nature in general. Um, really helped me to come bring my brain back into balance. It helped me to unify the two brain hemispheres and to kind of sense where I was imbalanced. And it kind of helped me to shed skin, to be able to reveal the things that I needed to do to cleanse my psyche, and and to help me to align myself with what I am. And there was a lot of other techniques as well. And there's a lot of techniques that we can do. I feel like I think that there are like even applications and like I'm talking about like YouTube videos and stuff that can help with this even. And that personally helped me, as much as I don't want to say it, as much as I want to say, you have to get off your technology completely and go out in nature the whole time and do it. No, I benefited off some like binaural beats and different types of frequencies and things when used correctly, not just as an escape. Like most people would just go, to the YouTube and be like, this is going to decalcify my pineal gland automatically. I don't have to do any work. It's like, no, nope. You have to watch yourself. And so that's the next point is, if you're not watching yourself, completely observing the way you think and observing, oh, I have a lot of like I'll say like toxic anger, like this really unharnessed anger that I'm just burning everybody with, you know what I mean? So you're probably suffering from left brain imbalance, because you can't control your anger. You can't harness your anger. You don't have an outlet for it, or you don't know how to feel it all the way through, so you're just spitfire everywhere. You're just spitting fire everywhere. Or you're just super naive and you just lay down for everything. You're very timid and quiet, and when there's a problem arises, you just kind of stay, you have the answer, but you just kind of stay and you're just like, I don't want my voice to be heard because I'm very insecure, or I fear rejection, so you might be overly right and balanced. Or if you're giving all your energy over to like, some God that you think exists outside of you, I think that's kind of both sides. But nonetheless, it's observing ourselves, observing the way we think, and observing our emotional, our emotions and everything in our lives. I know I say this all the time because, quite frankly, I'm going to be super persistent in talking about watchfulness, observation, awareness of ourselves, because that's, to me, that's the key for not only this particular topic, but for literally everything. To come to understand natural law, to come to understand anything in reality, we have to watch ourselves. We have to become self-aware, not self-aware in the sense of not just like, I'm Lawrence and that's it. No, self implies all. It implies the entire universe. So, but like, yes, it implies I have to be self-aware of my own actions, because I came here to be responsible as a sovereign being. I'm responsible for myself. And just by taking that power back, I think, and the reason I said nature in the beginning is because I feel like when you start aligning yourself with truth and you start really getting hungry and getting serious about life, your body calibrates naturally, right? Like, it's not like this. Yeah, it's hard work sometimes, and it's a process for sure. Like the shadow work, it's grueling. There's gonna be tears. There's gonna be, it's gonna be tough. But like at the same time, that's like the physical side effects of doing this work. And at the same time, it's really this effortless process of spirit kind of merging with the flesh finally, like spirit kind of finally getting gaining the ability to breathe through our bodies. And in our bodies, based off why we came here, based off the reasons why I'm here in this body, it's going to calibrate where it needs to. And I read this book a few years ago called Way of the Superior Man. I forgot the author's name, like David Deida or something. And he was talking about how it's very rare in society to see somebody with fully balanced brain, like 100%, like 50-50, I'm talking. And he said, like, most men are going to be like, at least like mostly, or not mostly, but more masculine than feminine. And most women will be more feminine than masculine. And he was expressing, because up until then, I was thinking like, you got to be 50-50 or else you're fucked up. But then he was talking about this, and he was like, it's not a problem as long as you're using both sides. Like, as long as there's this balance in the sense of you can have more masculine tendencies as a man, like your penetrative force is strong, your will to act is very strong, you just have this fire about you, but you also have the perfect amount of water to cool it off, right? And so there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you know when to cool the fire, or if you have too much water, you know when to bring in, the heat, right? When you need to take action or whatever it is. So I'm going to bring it back to the beginning. I feel like one of the best things we can do, or the best thing we can do to balance our brain hemispheres, is to, like Dom said, identify or realize where we're lacking. And we all know deep down. I mean, we all just observe your behavior. You'll be able to see there's a trend happening, right? I get really pissed off when this happens, or I just don't do anything. I just accept whatever. Watch what's going on in our psyches, and go out in nature to help build your sensitivity to what's taking place within you, and to help calibrate your being, to help kind of fine tune and allow nature, allow life, which is what you are, allow life to kind of bring you into balance, and listen to it. Listen to that voice, that intuition, whatever that says, this is what you need to do now. You need to start drinking smoothies. You need to stop eating McDonald's. You got to stop smoking and drinking every fucking day. You got to start, absorbing great material and stop watching Netflix, 30 hours a day. I don't know, like, you got to start doing things if you want to balance these brain hemispheres. There's processes that you have to go through. And one last thing, I say this all the time. Like, I feel like when we start this path, we start this journey, the our ability to connect with infinite consciousness is like almost instantaneous. It's like right now, but then the body, it's like this lag time, you know, like the body needs time to catch up. So like the grueling process of it is just the body needing to catch up. It's just like, oh my God, you just reach this enlightened state. It's gonna take me years to catch up to this, bro. That's what the body says. You know, like holy crap, I gotta integrate all this. I gotta change. I gotta stop doing all this. I gotta shed. I gotta shed. I gotta shed. I gotta go. And so I feel like a lot of times when we connect with our higher selves, which is what we are, this is the process that we're going through. Is the body's catching up to what we are beyond the body, you know?
Yeah, I think that's cool because what you're saying gave me some cool thoughts. For one, you said tune, and I thought about a tuning fork and how it's those two tongs vibrating, you know, and that could be the left and the right. But also the tie in back to what we were talking about, the value, you know, when you um, recognize your value, you act differently, right? And you were saying how it just kind of happens. But it occurred to me too, my answer would be the three-part answer, you know, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual, right? And on the mental plane, my best advice to anyone, even if you think you know what's going on in the world and you're kind of above it all, stop watching television. Just stop watching what they're doing. Who cares? You know, we need to concentrate on what we're doing and get ourselves into alignment. And what Lauren said, getting into nature is a good start on that. So mentally speaking, I would say filter, you know, I just, it really does affect you. The more times you hear these words that they're repeating over and over on all these media channels, the more you get involved in this whole circus of ridiculousness that's going on. We need to just refine our mental state. And so, you know, one simple way to do that is just turn off the frickin' TV,
Mhm.
you know?
True that.
And then on the physical plane, you know, like Lawrence was saying there too, it takes time. But I would say incrementally more exercise is so important, so key in breathing. You need to get your body exercise to the point where you're huffing and puffing. And a lot of people aren't having that opportunity to do that with quarantine and spending so much time on computers and screens. But if you want to get in alignment with get your body tuned and get those tuning forks vibrating, you need to breathe hard. You know, you need to get out there and run up a hill or do some heavy breathing, whatever it takes to get you there. And that is amazing, the peace you feel. Now combine that with being in nature, that's even better. And then on the spiritual plane, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Like we were talking about the shadow work, but I would say one simple thing is meditation. What's unique about meditation is it combines the physical and the mental, right? You're telling your body, I'm going to just let you be still. And you're telling your mind, I'm just going to let you be still. And then when they're both still, they can hear that other part of us, you know, that listener that you were talking about, the watcher. And that's where I tie it back into the value of life, is that we have that. And it's crazy when you think about it, that there's this part of yourself that can watch and listen to yourself as you're doing the things you're doing, as you're thinking the things you're thinking at this crazy speed of thinking. There's something else that's listening and watching that. And that is amazing, and it's valuable. It's a very precious ability that we have. And so we need to engage that and tune ourselves. That's my answer.
Yeah, phenomenal input. Yeah, that's great, guys. It's such a big topic, and like Lawrence was saying, there's so many techniques, and Dom, you nailed it. You know, that's the first thing you have to do is take the psychological inventory, right? You have to figure out where you're at, you know, and be honest with yourself. So, and yeah, Chris, that's great techniques. I'm going to offer 3 solutions that I use. It's the triforce of the psyche. So you have meditation to calm the mind and the body, and then contemplation or introspecting, where you get that deep focus on topics or whatever, and then using the imagination and opening up and seeing all the possibilities where you want to go, whatever you're trying to, you know, implement change in the environment to manifest. So meditation, contemplation, and imagination, the Triforce, and kind of touches on the spiritual, the physical, and the mental as well. So, and of course, there's breath work and grounding, getting out in nature, and all that stuff. But just for the psyche, those are the three that I use that work really good. So,
Right on.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I like Chris. They brought up exercise because that reminds me of like how important it is for us to sweat. Like holy shit, how like it's so important. Skin being the largest organ, it's like we need to be sweating like regularly. Almost like every day, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to mind is like I live in Michigan right now, and I almost feel like I know this might not be correct, but I almost feel like it's not natural for a human being to live in such cold weather because it's like, where's the it's we need to sweat, and I think in winter it's very like you see depression rises and suicide and all these different things because the sun's really dim and people aren't getting enough extra or like they're not sweating enough. They're not getting it's darker, it's cloudy. All these different factors come into play, but without going off on a tangent here, I just want to tie that into it as well because exercising is so freaking important, and it's something that I didn't do. I used to be a freak, and ever since COVID happened, I kind of fell off. I mean, I started exercising at home, but I'm getting back into it now. But yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, get that life force energy going, man. Qigong, that
And the
prana,
blood flowing, and
the
you know,
ki. Yep.
Oh,
need that
yeah.
oxygen.
Living up north, I can testify that winter is hard on the people. I've been living 41 years, in the true north, and it's tough in the winter. It takes a lot of preparation, and a lot of people are on autopilot, right? So they fall, as you said, into depression. They don't take the right supplements, or vitamin for the lack of sun. So yeah, it's really hard on the people living up north. I can testify easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
a
that-
lot of people too battle with, I'm going to start exercising, and then they go and one day they do a bunch of exercise and then they're so sore the next day, then they skip it and then never get back to it. And so the technique that I came up with that worked for me finally after 40 years, it took me a while before I started really getting a good daily regimen of exercise. And what worked for me was starting really small and just setting aside a time in the morning. For me, the morning works. But I started off with 7 push-ups, and I'm kind of a lightweight guy, so 7 push-ups wasn't very difficult. And I just kept doing that every day because it was easy, and I think that's what I would recommend to people. Start with something really simple that you can't not, and just be consistent about it. And then you can build from there. And then after 4-5 weeks of doing, whatever it is, maybe it's just 1 sit-up, you're going to start going up to 3 or 4 just because it's easy. And then you're going to get used to that. And then you're going to feel weird when you don't do it. So that's just my advice on that. But,
Absolutely. It's a
or,
process.
find something you love doing, like climbing. That's fun, snowboarding or whatever you can find that is good exercise that gives you some challenge.
Yeah, like martial arts, trail running, man, that shit's awesome.
Yeah,
There's
no
so many
doubt.
different, there's so many different things. Which this kind of brings me into, since I'm the last one to ask the question, this kind of brings me into my question that just came to me. What is some advice that you guys can give to those who really need a push? They like in your experience, how are you persevering and staying persistent in your daily life amidst all the chaos? As in doing whatever it takes to take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, be at peace within yourself, within your temple, amidst all the chaos and all the flashing lights and all the drama all on the world stage. What are some tips that you can, I think we've covered a little bit of this, but what are some tips that you can provide the audience and
I, I
how to just stay strong through it and just stay. And guess what? Strength might look like weakness. That there is strength in weakness. So if you're weak, allow yourself to be weak. That's a big thing that people don't allow themselves to do. So yeah.
I can tie this to my experience with martial arts because I've been practicing again for 15 years kendo, the Japanese art of swords fencing, and now I'm fourth dan of the black belt, and but basically what I've trained a lot of people, and at first it's really hard, and a lot of people they quit after maybe a year or 2 years, because at the beginning it's really hard to get the moves and get the body used to and it's really cardio, and because there's a lot of shouting and there's a lot of quick movement, so a lot of footwork and everything, and it's hard on the foot because you're barefoot, and get a lot of blisters and everything. So a lot of people they quit, but after 1 year or 2 years, and I realized that for myself, I decided to continue, and it was the best thing. And I see it like climbing a mountain. At first it's really hard, it's painful, and a lot of people will turn around and they will never go to the top. But those who reach the top, they will realize how beautiful it is, and they will then realize that it really pays off their efforts of not quitting. But you have to have that extra courage, that extra motivation, that extra um, will to reach the top. And because same thing with my martial art, after 1 year or 2 year, your body get used to it, and it's way more easy to do the moves. And then you step into the next step, which is not thinking anymore. It kind of become a second nature, and that's where the true martial arts starts. But a lot of people they quit before finding out what it is. But once you find out what it is, you have that reward, right?
Mm.
So I think that the biggest rewards are won by the hardest battles, and most people they won't, they will go for the easy path, which will lead to the small rewards. And that's how you have to see it. If you want to, again, like those who climb the Mount Everest, it's hard, but once you reach the top, I guess the feeling that you have of accomplishment you have within yourself should be tremendous and amazing. So that would be pretty much my answer and my take on that question.
I like that allegory
Nice.
of climbing the mountain. That's something I've always liked to use in some of the things I talk about, and it's like the hardest part is when you have to push the hardest. And like, I was having a conversation with a good friend who was going through a hard time. And I said, it's like being on the side of a mountain right now on a climb, right? You don't feel all good till you get to the top. The tough part's where you're at right now, when you're barely holding on by your fingernails and you're sweating. That's when you have to really push through. And that's where we're at. We're at a time that's going to require patience, perseverance, and persistence. But that's long-term thinking. We're not going to see, as hard as we're trying right now, we're probably not going to see the fruits of our labors, and we're going to see a frustrating future. So we have to think long-term and be calm. And I think to practice being uncomfortable, just like we were talking about exercise, incrementally every day you keep pushing, and eventually you can do one more push-up or one more pull-up. That's not a comfortable process. That's practicing being a little bit uncomfortable every day. And that's what we're doing when we're speaking out to other people about difficult subjects. We're practicing being uncomfortable.
Mm.
And I think that's what comes to mind for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, great topic, and this always brings me back to ritual, Ritual is in spiritual. What is it? It's your daily habits, what you do on a day-to-day basis. You can have large rituals for sure, but mainly ritual is your day-to-day habits. So start off small. This is how you build up willpower as well. You do little pieces at a time and you build it up. If you're going to learn how to do a sport or, any kind of skill set, you start small and you just keep at it. And so do that with your daily habits as well. What do you do when you get up? What are you eating on a day-to-day basis? And all those health factors that come into play. Or if you're teaching the great work or teaching any kind of information, you do a little bit at a time and you build it up, and you're building that willpower, that drive and determination. It's like the old saying, would you plant a tree to never taste its fruit? Because a tree is going to take many years to grow and then eventually bear fruit, and you might not be around. So of course you would do it. It's the right thing to do. So point being, it's a stepwise progression, and stay on it, stay focused, and keep it going, keep that momentum going. So
All great answers. And I really I like what all of you had to say, but I often think about that mountain metaphor as well. And I like to think of it as like, not only are you're climbing, you're on the side of it right now, but in every moment you have the opportunity to reach the top. Or you can look at it as, in every moment, as long as I'm living to the best of my ability in alignment with natural law, in alignment with my integrity, I have integrity. I'm focused. I am being a good person, or being a good human being. I don't like the term person. Being a good human being, I know I am. Living in that way gives me the insight, or the knowing that I'm at the top already. I've reached the top. It's kind of like in every moment. Does that make sense? It's kind of like stepping into more Eastern thought, but it's true because that ties into, because I know for me, I've been so hard on myself for so many years, and especially when I first started. I mean, before I woke up, yeah, but after I woke up, I was tremendously hard on myself, because I wasn't putting out information, because I wasn't ready, because I didn't have the knowledge, because I wasn't perfect, because my hair was looking this way, because I didn't have enough muscle mass, because I didn't have, I was too, like, all these different things. It was mania. And I really had to tap into that realization that, like, I am exactly where I need to be right now. And that's okay. I'm not putting out massive amounts of work. I don't have millions of followers. I don't, my voice isn't as articulate as it could be. I don't have all the words to describe how I feel. And that's okay. That's where I'm at. I'm at the top of my peak right now. But at the same time, I'm still climbing. It's this paradox that we have to, like, live in alignment with in every moment. And so again, great points that all of you made there.
Yeah, I'd say all around excellent discussion. And what's really impressive is that we had no script. The four of us just decided to meet and throw out some questions, and look how much progression of thought came through, just bouncing these ideas around a little with all of our minds. I just felt, to me, like we were kind of climbing a mountain together. And each time we went around and someone said something, we're all seeing this larger perspective on these ideas. And hopefully the listening audience feels similar, and I hope that you all get something out of it. And I look forward to our next four-way discussion, which I'm sure we'll do. So why don't we close it up for tonight? And you can check me out at endevil.life. Lawrence, principleofcare.com, correct?
ThePrincipleofCare.com.
I'm sorry,
yes.
The Principle of Care. And then Dom, a verite consequence. Did I say it even close to right?
Yes. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow with you gentlemen.
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
likewise. I love doing these roundtable discussions, man. It's phenomenal to just kind of watch it grow and get those ideas out. So naturalfreedomleague.com and willtelltruth.com. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks to the
Right on.
viewers too. Right on.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.